When is a photo not actually a photo? Many people think photo manipulation is something which is a byproduct of the digital era. Well, no, it goes back a hell of a lot further than that. There are many famous photos dating back a very long time, which are composites of different images. Are these still photos? When does it matter and when doesn't it? This is far too big a subject, far too complicated to cover in this simple short video, and I'm not going to go into the whole AI images debate, because that's 100 times more extreme than anything I'm going to be talking about here. Whilst I'm known for shooting video, I actually probably take a lot more photos than I shoot video. It's been my passion ever since I could walk, pretty much. These are my first two cameras here. The first one I had, which is a medium format, and this is my Pentax, it's very dusty, 35mm film camera. Of course, film because I am old. Very important cameras to me, and they taught me a hell of a lot. Because I was shooting film, I learned patience, skill, and the importance of getting it right in camera. I've always embraced new technology, so when DSLRs came along and got really good and affordable, of course I jumped onto them. The creative opportunities it would give me, the freedom, was huge. There's no excuse for getting my exposure wrong anymore when I'm shooting RAW, and with high megapixel cameras I can crop in an insane amount if needed. But I still have that same mindset as when taking film photos. I'm always trying to get it right in camera. I just take a lot more photos now than I used to ensure I get it 100% right. Of course, I process my photos. I use Lightroom for that. I've never been a Photoshop kind of person, never felt the need for most things, maybe occasionally touching up a portrait of a family member, and I do definitely use it for any graphic design. But really, for anything further than that, I don't need it and I don't use it. But this is for my personal work. Now, whilst I rarely shoot photography professionally, as video, if a client hired me to get photos of their business, for example, then I would do what was necessary to get them the perfect results. And that finally brings me to Luminar Neo by Skylum. I'm sure they're going to be very happy I have finally got to it. I've played with previous versions and they look good, but nothing I needed. I've used Lightroom for a very long time to organise and process photos, and it's always been enough for me. But when I installed Luminar Neo, I was amazed and fascinated at its capability and how effortless it was to use. I don't think there's anything in Luminar Neo that Photoshop can't do. It's just Neo can just do it so much quicker and easier. Something, a couple of clicks in Neo, it could take hours in Photoshop, for example. It's really incredibly impressive just what this software can do. What I'm going to do now is go through some examples of my experimentations with the software and the features that I've used the most. As I am new to Luminar Neo, I still very much have a lot to learn, and I thoroughly recommend Anthony Turnham's YouTube channel as he has a huge amount of tutorials for it. The features I've enjoyed using the most so far have been incredible masking ability, especially for sky replacements, the relight tool, definitely, sun rays, atmosphere, which is quite a few that I've really been using and enjoying. I took this photo in India for the Wanderlust TV series. I was filming with Sony A55, but I also had my Pentax 645Z with me the whole time. So I took loads of those photos. This photo is not exceptional. The sky's boring. The light has some interesting stuff here, but not strong enough. I'm not the center of the frame. I'm not doing anything crazy, just try and make something of this. So it's going to bring up the shadows and bring down our highlights a bit there. And I think that's absolutely fine for this basic initial raw development. And we're going to the fancy tools. Enhance is very good at it, sort of adds, just brings the whole thing to life. A bit too much perhaps, but you can mask stuff off with brushes, gradients, and additional AI masks here. Something, say, from here, if I don't like it, if I think it's a bit too much. Yeah, I'm okay with that, but this is all very rough and ready just for this tutorial. The enhance tool before and after. And I'm going to use the landscape one to just add a bit of golden hour gorgeousness to it. I'm not going to do any dehazing, I don't think you really need. Maybe a tiny bit. Certainly not going to increase the... Be careful, don't overuse these things. That's nice. Now, what do we actually have here that is really worth improving upon? These lights, rays, so we have that there. Let's add a little bit of mist first, some atmosphere to accentuate that. Let's just add a little bit there. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm going to go onto the sun rays, which is one of my favourite ones. So we're going to put our sun where the sun belongs. Now we're going to have a look here and see, oh, that's interesting, it's quite strong. Obviously you don't want it as strong as that. But we can change certain things. I'm not going to change too much of the sun here. I think that's as it was fine. Don't want it to be too warm either. Quite like the warmth of the glows. That's good. And we want it to be sort of in the right position for where they actually were falling naturally. There we go. Okay, now we just need to do some masking to get rid of a lot of this. As pretty as they are, they don't belong there. You certainly wouldn't see them in the sky like that. That's very unnatural. One thing when it comes to the sun, because it is AI, it is looking at, so you can see where it is affecting the mask, and you can see how the actual image itself is, what's actually there is affecting how much will come out. So behind the trees is less, and around there, of course, we want it to be. Yeah. Relight is one of the most powerful things on here. So it's again using AI, so it's looking at the image to do this, and it's seeing what this. We want to darken this area at the front a bit and make the rest of it look a little bit brighter potentially. I'm going to add a bit of a glow onto here, diffusion, and I'm going to mess with the super contrast. Well, you know what? A bit of a vignette, just don't go too over the top with these things, but just a little bit would be nice, as it gives it a nice little frame. So, before, after. I'm happy with that. So there's a similar thing with this image from Vanuatu. Again, for the Wonderlist and the Pentax 645Z. This was the processed version, this is what it was originally. This was taken with the DJI Mini 3 Pro in Skiathos. And this is very stylized, very over the top, very unnatural looking, but just to show you sort of thing, compared to the other two, which are much more subtle. So this giraffe photo is quite simple. I just wanted to just mess around with the sky replacement and see what we could get. Some ones which are just too much, too distracting. And this one I like because it's dramatic and it gives you the ability to do all sorts of things with it. It's not real, it's not what I actually captured at the time. Well, part of it is, this is a piece of art. And actually, I like it, and I think that is the most important thing. This is one of my favourite photos of the Marshall Eagle eating in a greet. And these are the two versions that I used. Sky's very dull though. I mean, I did brighten up to make it look very stark, and it does work well for that. But I was curious to see if I could add a little bit of sky, something to just differentiate it. And the results are fine. I don't know which one I prefer. I certainly do like having those branches removed. I think that is good. And if I was going to have a fine art print made of it that was going to be sold, that's what it would be. Whether I would have the white sky or a touch of blue sky, that I'm not so sure about. Just as I finished this, I ran the original raw file through Luminar Neo again, and I used a slider which I hadn't used before on this, which was the Enhance AI. And using the accent and the sky enhancer, there was a sky there. Hidden within those almost blown highlights, there was some colour. Very badly falling apart. It did bring up loads of dust spots on the image, but one of my favourite things about Luminar Neo is the one-click dust spot remover. Did a fantastic job. With some noise reduction and some gentle massaging, I was able to get a real sky of this. I went down to Richmond to do some long exposures, and my God, the sky was boring. I mean, it's lovely, beautiful blue skies. I don't often get that. Like clouds gives us something interesting in there, the nice things to the light. So it's very boring. And this long exposure, it's an incredibly boring photo. But using a sky that I have from another photo, I can make it look a little bit better. But really, the best thing for me to do is just not have gone out on that day and just waited for the weather to be right. And that's what I do. I look at the weather forecast, I look outside, and when I see the skies and I see the light looking good, that's when I go out. Sky replacement is one of the most impressive functions, and it can improve images a lot. The ones built into Neo are very nice, and there are hundreds more available to buy in their marketplace. But you can also use your own, and that's what these ones are, cut out from various photos that I've taken and loaded in. Again, for me, it's about subtlety. Yes, you can go over the top if that's your thing, but as I've been saying, the best results I've had from Neo has been trying to keep things as natural as possible. And no, this isn't natural. There's lots of sliders to help you get the best looking sky, but it's the masking that's impressed me the most. I took a photo to show you just how good it was, and it doesn't need a new sky, but it's about as challenging as you can get. There's no way I'll be able to get a mask that's anything like as good as this in Photoshop, and certainly not within seconds. From now on, I'm going to make a point of taking photos of as many skies as I can, some special use ones like this, but mostly everyday skies, as those are the ones I'm going to use the most. Luminar Neo can be used as a catalogue for your photos, but I still much prefer Lightroom for this as it is more powerful. That being said, I would definitely recommend having a catalogue for your photos that you edit with Neo. If you use the Lightroom or Photoshop plugin that will open up Luminar Neo, and you can make edits within there, when you save it, it closes and you can't change those edits anymore. Being able to change the edits is a very important thing, especially as it's very easy to go a bit strong on them, so to have that ability to go back and tweak them is essential. One of the coolest things about Luminar Neo is it is a piece of software that can be used by people with really no experience, but also it's powerful enough with features which are incredibly useful for much more advanced users and professionals. If you are interested in getting it, I think the best way is on their annual Pro plan. You can buy it outright, but that doesn't include the extensions, the 10% marketplace discounts, and it's just for one seat, whereas the Pro plan is for two. Also, Skylum do bring out new versions of Luminar every couple of years or so, and they have big improvements, it makes more sense. If I'm using Luminar Neo and I've made changes to my photo, I'm going to say it when I share it. I'm not going to be deceitful about it and say, hey, this was all done in camera. It's just we're in this strange situation where we see these images now online and they're so perfect, we think there's no way that could possibly have been done in camera, and actually most likely they were. Because it is just so easy now to make things look perfect. It should never stop you trying to do it in camera though.